Hello everyone, this is Jotto, and welcome to a Wisdom Dominion deck. So, yeah, it's been a long time since I played Wisdom Dominion. I decided to come back to it. So I called the deck, and we're back. Yeah, so for anyone that has been playing for quite a while, you'll know that the first deck that I did very well with was, competitively at least, was Wisdom Dominion. Now, before then, I was playing some like Corruption Wisdom and things like that, and some Elves and some Rage and blah blah. But the first deck I made a proper splash with in competitive Spellweaver was Wisdom Dominion, as I pretty much pioneered the original Wisdom Dominion deck, at least when the ladder system got going, even though there were builds of it beforehand. So since then, I've kind of come back to the list over and over and over again, tweaked it, and made it work in pretty much every metagame that has existed, because it just does. I played it in the 25 life patch a decent amount, and I didn't play it when Advanced Never was really dominant, which was the second half of the 25 life patch, but that's mostly because of just bad matchups. And then I decided, you know what, let's go back to it. Why? Because there's elves everywhere right now. So the thing about elves is that they have very, very severe weaknesses to 3 Dominion cards. Arguably more. But the main 3 Dominion cards they just can't deal with are Assassin, Assassinate, and Cathedral. The triple punch that elves just have massive issues dealing with. On top of that, there's Bloodseeking Mutant, Cataclysm, Karthus. These are all good against elves. Even Mind Extort is good against elves. Pretty much the entirety of the Dominion set is good against elves. And with the amount of elves running around, I thought, let's give it a bash. There's also a lot of Mon-Wed running around right now, and the life gain can help a lot. So I thought, yeah, it's well positioned. So I decided to make a artifactless deck. This is actually the first Wisdom Dominion build I've ever made with no artifacts in it, or spells. All the previous versions have had something like Silencer, Lamp. I've seen some versions with Reflector, but this version has absolutely 0 artifacts in it, or 0 unicorn targets, more accurately. A couple other metagame tweaks with this particular list, and since I haven't done deck tech for this in a while, I'm going to go over every single card in depth. So, first things first, Advanced Despina. Now, Advanced Despina is hands down the best sort of hero power for this type of deck. Darius, like basic Darius, is possible. But Advanced Despina offers basically a win condition in your hero, which is just insane. Especially against Mono Red, you can get Phoenixes, you can go ahead and get Ramgath for playing it, Flame Serpent for finishing. Against elves, you can get Elf Warrior fairly easily, and that will block quite effectively. And also allows you to deal with angels very, very well if they ever show up. It's just a very versatile hero power. Will let you get a lot of utility creatures, gets information on your opponent, lets you get gnomes or unicorns out of the deck against artifacts. It's really, really good, and it's one of the single strongest control hero powers in the entire game. Now, this is going to cause some controversy, starting off with the early game. 2 New Horizons. Yes, I'm only playing 2. Now, this is a weird one, because I am kind of known for only playing 3 Horizons, ever. I don't play more than 3, because like the consistency loss is not worth it. The reason I'm playing 2 right now is actually because the metagame is so fast. Like, I think it's the fastest metagame we've ever had. Even the mid-range decks are quick right now. So, yeah, before we've had like red aggro plus a bunch of mid-range decks or some control decks. Now it's just like every deck has an aggressive punch to it. The problem is, you can't play New Horizons going second now. You just can't. Not in the early game. You can maybe play 1 later to ramp into Karthus, but you can't play it in the early game. You just get run over. So, as a result, I'm only playing 2. Because I just don't want New Horizons in any game going second, and even going first I can't play it sometimes. So instead I reinforce some of the other early game, which we'll get on to next. So the rest of the really early game is the Assassin. This is another rule of mine I'm breaking. So, traditionally, I have always played 3 Assassin, 3 Assassinate in every Wisdom Dominion control deck I've ever made. I am playing 4 of each right now. Why? Because elves. So, the reason why Assassin is so good is it trades with everything. and has 3 speed, and only costs 2 mana, so it just trades with everything. Against elves, however, it also negates all their tricks. Elven Sanctuary, still a trade. Ambush Strike, still a trade. Tornado Outbreak, sure, but then it's a Tornado Outbreak on a 2-drop. So basically, Assassin is incredibly good against green decks. It blocks everything, because they can't get past it without, like, landsliding it. So you can either use a bounce spell on it, which isn't that much of a tempo play, or you have to trade with it with an Elf Warrior, or with an Elf Scout, if you have an Elf Warrior as well. And if they have a Protector to follow, or an Assassin, like if they have an Assassin on turn 1, you play, let's say, alright, this is a perfect example actually. Going Elf Scout, your opponent's playing Wisdom Dominion, they spark out Shadow Step Assassin. You play Elf Warrior and attack. And you're giving your opponent the option of saying, alright, you can attack into my Elf Warrior, get the trade, that's fine. But then, what happens if the Dominion player doesn't attack? He just passes with 2 mana. What do? Think about it. So, you can't use a trick, because tricks don't work on Assassin. So, what do? You attack with Elf Scout and the Elf Warrior, right? Yeah, not really, because if he assassinates your Elf Warrior, you lose both creatures, and the Assassin is still alive. And this is the kind of stuff that really excels against elves, and it's one of the reasons I'm playing 4 of each right now, is the 1-2 punch of Assassinate allows you to just deal with pretty much everything. Against red, it does have its weaknesses, against Gibber and Ronnie in particular, but then you're playing Force Mage Protector, which we'll get to in a little bit, to reinforce against red. Now, Assassinate also requires a bit more talk about, and the fact that it can kill Library Guards, which is fairly big, and also with Cathedral Knight or with Mutant, you can kill pretty much anything, because most creatures have 3 attack or less on their base, so you can assassinate more or less any creature that has seen play for a very long time, which is very critical actually, because this deck does not run Helm, which is it's a risky play, but you can't run Helm in this current metagame, in my opinion, so I cut the Helm. Anyway, on to the last early game creature. We have Force Mage Protector, 4 of. Yeah, Force Mage Protector is the ultimate anti-red card. It has got a bit worse against red since Lizard got changed, because you can attack with Lizard and it will absorb the Protector hit, and then attack with a Goblin at the same time. And the Protector dies, and the Lizard dies, but the Goblin lives. So Protector is not as good as it always has been before against red, but it's still pretty damn good. It's usually a 2-for-1, it's only a 1-for-1 in that one situation, and most of the time it's a 2-for-1, and you have earlier game cards like Assassin and Assassinate that stop things like Lizard anyway. So Force Mage Protector is an all-star against red. It's actually very, very good in a lot of matchups. Even against green it's good, because if you have a Library Guards or an Assassin, suddenly you can't really deal with them. Like, Library Guards can't be Haldiried anymore, and that's a big deal. So the Force Mage Protector is a really important card. One of the best creatures in the entire game. Alright, so the last of the low drops we have is the 2 Gnomes. Now, 2 Gnomes is just need artifact removal pretty much. This usually kills Helm and Path. Those are the 2 main ones. Only 2, because there aren't that many running around right now, and you can always use your opponents if they're playing blue or green. So only the 2 Engineers. The energy drain actually does come up with Dust Titan and Protector, but not that frequently. So don't worry about that too much. Now, before we get on to some of the utility spells and some of the bigger spells, we're just going to move on to the mid-game creatures. Library Guards, in my opinion, the best creature in the entire game. It's so good. Library Guards, I mean, in this deck especially, it's just bonkers because you have New Horizons. And if you're going second instead of New Horizons, you just spark out Library Guards and then go for a Cathedral afterwards, or another Library Guards, and that's just a ridiculous opening as well. So you can pretty much always get Library Guards down for value, unlike in some other situations where it will just get picked off because a Cavalry Field Captain or something. You can usually play it into a board state where they can't really abuse that because you have your early game options. Like, the early game in this version of Wisdom Dominion is probably the most robust early game I've ever made for one of these decks. 4 Protector, 4 Assassin, 4 Assassinate, 3 Mind Extort is about as much early defense as you can cram into this entire Carlo combo. And Library Guards is what lets you transition into the late game, and the late game is where you excel. It's also a very, very good top deck later and lets you stabilize with the draw power. Now, onto the other mid-game creature, we have a Blood-Seeking Mutant. Now, Blood-Seeking Mutant got a bit of the nerf bat, however, it has been in both of the last two decks that I've teched. So, the thing about Blood-Seeking Mutant is that he's still very, very good. He's not as good as he used to be, but he still has his role. He still takes out a lot of elves, and a lot of mono-red stuff, soldiers, and he's a win condition. He is actually a legitimate win condition. Multiple mutants will often just completely trounce any other type, because you play a mutant, move it back. Play another mutant, and then suddenly you have enough mutants that you can move the first one forward, and that's already a 3-3, so it's harder to deal with. You have a 3-3 and a 3-3, and then if they don't kill both, they just lose the game. So, Bloodseeking Mutant, still very, very good. No longer one of the best creatures in the game, although it probably still is on the top 10. I'd have to see. Now, onto the late game creatures. We have two. We've got Dust Titan, which is a 3 of, and Karthus as a 4 of. So, Dust Titan is basically in the deck to counter two cards. Phoenix, because I'm not playing Helm, and Elves. So you're noticing a theme here. Yeah, there's so many elf decks that you kind of need the Titan. Titan is absolutely hilarious against elves. He's so good. You just play him, shock two guys, and what are they going to do? Oh, yeah, it's a big creature. They have to bounce him, right? So they bounce the Titan. You play him again. Shock the same two creatures, but you're upper mana now, and they're down a card. Even Landslide isn't good against Titan, because he's usually the only creature on the board on your side. So they Landslide the Titan, and it's a 1-for-1 with the Landslide and the Titan, because you top deck the Titan instead of whatever card you would have. And you're both down the same amount of mana, because when you play the Titan the second time, you shock the creatures again. So, what breaks the stalemate? Well, the answer to that is the fact that you're gaining mana every turn, and also that he's going to run out of landslides at some point. So, Dust Titan joins the ranks of Karthus as being incredibly good against bounce spells. He's also a win condition that is fairly good. He does stop a lot of blocking, so that's quite nice. Now, Karthus is the catch-all. Literally, he kills everything. He only has one weakness, really, which is Phoenix, but then you still gain the 2 life, and you can shrink down the Phoenixes over time. The life gain is incredibly relevant. He usually gains 4 life on his own, and with the other incremental life gain, it's a big deal. Sometimes he gains 6, which is just insane, and he lets you stabilize for late game, and what's your ultra late game? Well, it's the hero power. So basically you play Karthus, stabilize after a cataclysm. Like, cataclysm into Karthus is usually game over, because you have 3 levels when you go for the cataclysm, and then you go Karthus, and the game is done. I don't think I've lost a game where I've gone cataclysm into Karthus, apart from when I'm like a 5 against a red deck or something. So yeah, the Karthus Death Speaker is just amazing, and will always be good. Now, the last part of this deck is the supporting spells. I already mentioned New Horizons, but the 2 other low-cost supporting spells are Mind Extort, which is completely insane and is one of the best spells in the entire game. Just being able to rip apart your opponent's hand is just hilarious. It's also very, very good against Path, which is nice. They don't get any benefit whatsoever if you extort it. And you get a lot of information. You get rid of a Fireball and then play Library Guards, and they can't deal with it, and the Library Guards just kills them because it blocks all of their aggro and stabilizes. And it gets rid of Dragonfire, that's the other big one, and things like Tornado Outbreak. Landslide isn't too much of an issue for this deck, but Tornado Outbreak can be a bit brutal. So having the 3 Mind Extorts is a big deal. Ancient Wisdom, because I'm not playing Basic Darius, which means I have to play 3 Ancient Wisdom for draw power and 4 Library Guards. That's about it. There's nothing particularly to say about Ancient Wisdom. It's just basic draw power. You need 3 in decks, in control decks that are playing like blue, which most of them are, and is not using Basic Darius. In fact, you could argue that just any blue deck not running Basic Darius needs 3 Ancient Wisdom. Like, you could debate that, and you wouldn't be too far away from the truth. It is a very, very nice thing to have. It's just that straight draw. It's not one of the best cards ever, but it's definitely it has a role, and it achieves it, and is very, very good in the late game in particular. Now, the last spell in the deck is Cataclysm. I'm running 3 Cataclysm. I have not run 3 Cataclysm in a while. The last version I had 2. And then I haven't run 3 Cataclysm in about 4 months now, I think about it. Basically, fast metagame, you need a Cataclysm. You don't ever pretty much need to. I don't think I've cast 2 without just using it for efficiency's sake. Like, I think every time, at least in this version, I've cast a second Cataclysm, it's usually just been because I'd rather not use a Karthus on something. I'd rather just Cataclysm it and another creature instead of go Karthus Assassinate. It's just value, basically. It's not necessary to play the second one. The first one is very, very handy, though, and I would highly recommend running 3 so that you always get a Cataclysm against, you guessed it, elves and mono-red, since those are everywhere. It's also pretty good against soldiers, though this deck is not fantastic against soldiers. Although the extra early game is quite nice against soldiers. As I have a message, which I will check after the video. So anyway, we're going to take this on to friendlies, since there aren't very many people playing ranked right now, since the season just ended. I actually got rank 5 this month with this particular deck. I could have done better. I was actually on a win streak, and I think I had like a 90% win rate on the last stream. I played for 2 hours on ranked. Went from 17 to 4. And the only reason I didn't go higher was because there was a point gap between 4th and 3rd, and I really couldn't be bothered to finish it. Yeah. Anyway, so if I hadn't gone on a massive loss streak, I probably would have finished top 3 with this deck. I think it definitely can do it. It's just I was a bit lazy. So anyway, we're against mono-red. I do like the Assassinate Extort, but I don't like any of these cards, and so I think I'm going to mulligan this. This is much better. Protector, Extort, this is so much better. We're against Xerxes, Dukul. Now, we're going to send back a Karthus. There's a Cathedral. This leaves me in an interesting position. I think I'm just going to go for a turn 2 Protector, and I'm not going to Extort in turn 1 because I think I need the Cathedral activation. Cathedral is very, very powerful against red and should be cherished as a card. Forgot to actually talk about the shrines. It's a 12-9 split with 3 cathedrals. Knew I'd forgotten something in the deck tag. All right, so let's play down this protector. Guess I got rid of the cataclysm. All right, so we did get that that Dominion Shrine. That's important. Play the protector. Shield it immediately because it is against red, and you should always shield immediately against red. Unless you have like 2 force fields, but that's because you're playing mono blue. And if you have 2 force fields, you've won anyway. So Fireball plus Goblin will deal with this. He doesn't seem to have either, though. I am betting that this is a Fireball held up. So what I'm going to do here is just leave up Assassinate. I could Extort. Yeah, you see the clock is going, so he has a Fireball in hand. I could Mind Extort there, but I think it's better just leave up Assassinate, wait for him to like use the hero power, so he can attack with Fia, just Assassinate the Fia, and go from there. Because I can Extort him whenever I want to. This could be a Word of Fire. We're just going to Assassinate end of turn here. We're going to get rid of the Fia because it can attack immediately. Now, I know there's a Fireball in hand, so what we're going to do here is just Mind Extort him. Oh, never mind. This is a Nature variant. So he can play Ramgath next turn. He can play Phoenix as well. So I'm just going to play the Assassin, and I'm going to weaken the Phoenix next turn. Let's get rid of this Ancient Wisdom. We do not need the Ancient Wisdom right now. So Phoenix is a little bit irritating here. However, I can just weaken it immediately, so it's not too bad. And then the Phoenix will have dealt -2 damage. He just concedes. I mean, yeah. I think we would have won that game anyway, but it's just kind of annoying that it was just a concession there. But whatever. This is one of the reasons why I play multiple games. I don't like skipping games out of deck techs. The main reason for it is because then it starts looking like I'm just editing games out, and I don't like doing that because I like showing realistic representations of my decks. But yeah, now we do have the Asperia Invitational coming up at the end of the month. I'll have to see what I'm playing for that. I'm expecting a patch before then. There will be a patch before then. I know that. But whether or not there'll be balancing in it, we don't know. There might be a little bit of balancing in it, just here and there. Haven't spotted anything particularly overpowered, however. So, yeah, that's difficult to assess. However, I could play Wisdom Dominion there. I could play Soldiers, could play Elves, Rage. There's a lot of decks that I'm comfortable with currently. I think if I practiced Wisdom Dominion, I could get it up to a mastery level like I did with Advanced Never, because I have played a lot of Wisdom Dominion in the past. The one problem with playing Wisdom Dominion in a tournament is that you risk playing the mirror match, and I hate the mirror. It's actually one of the reasons why I don't play Wisdom Dominion that much, is due to how irritating the mirror match is. It is my least favorite matchup in Spellweaver, is the mirror. I've actually done Rage streams before after season ending. I think the first month I played Wisdom Dominion extensively. I was the only Wisdom Dominion player for quite a while, and I was sitting at rank 1 for most of the season. And then, this was when bonus points were around, so you had to play all your games to get rid of the bonus points, so you got the benefit. And I ended up playing 12 Wisdom Dominion mirrors in a row, and it was horrible. Now, this is an interesting hand because I'm going first, which makes this quite risky. I like double assassinate, but I also don't like how risky this is, and I don't like the rest of the hand, so we're going to mulligan this. This is debatably worse. We're going to keep the engineer, get rid of cataclysm, hope we hit, we miss. This is going to be painful if this doesn't go through. Oh boy, get rid of assassinate. Oh wow, we got a second cathedral, that's lucky. So we do have a cathedral, even though we had to use a cathedral already. Now I need to hope for a blue! Oh jeez. So the Gnome Power Engineer is going to be helpful here, since this is either implants or starter deck, and they both have artifacts in them. It is in fact a starter deck, because it is a new player. Don't quite realize how that works. But anyway, so yeah, we'll have to see how the next patch comes out. I'm hoping it's going to be including the tournament mode and spectator mode. That's what we've been promised, at least. Is that will be coming out in the next week or so. Which would be good. It was delayed a little bit, but it means we might get spectator mode, and I hope it works. As I'm going to get terrible top decks for the next. Oh boy. He just concedes. Alright, so in the interest of actually getting a bit more out of this video, I'm going to play a third game. Yeah, sometimes you get games like that on friendlies. I did try and find a ranked game before starting the video, just to see what the queue times were like, and as I thought, they were quite long. The thing is that, like, the least populated time of ranked play is the day after the season resets. Because no one's playing ranked the day after the season resets. It's just pointless. Like, nothing you do on the first day is going to affect how you finish the season, so as a result, no one cares. That's basically how that goes. Which you can't really blame them for, but yeah. Now, there has been a little bit of discussion to do with Divine Offering, which is good because I missed 2 Divine Offerings. It almost screwed me over there. There's been a little bit of talk about this. Suggestion to increase the number of Divine Offering cards to 5 from 4. Would that be enough? Probably. You'd still miss Divines, but you wouldn't miss them as much, which I am in favor of, obviously, because I really, really don't like the whole shrine screwing thing. Would it mean that the mathematically, like, good number of shrines to run is suddenly 20? Probably. But I'd have to do some tinkering with that. Alright. Elves. So we're against elves going second, which makes this hand more or less perfect. It has the trifecta of anti-elf cards. Grove Guardian. Grove Guardian is the worst opener against my particular deck. Because he plays an elf, I just let it hit me, and then I assassinate whatever he plays and use the assassin on the Grove Guardian. So let's see what he does here. I don't mind if he has Amber Strike, because then it's a 2-for-1. Assassinate this, and then attack here, see if he Amber Strikes it. If he does, it's a 2-for-1 anyway. So, that's fine. That is perfectly fine, in fact. So I come out on top of that. He's a card down on me now because I went second, so I'm actually on 6 cards, and I have a skill shrine. Oh, and he does as well. Wow, this is a really fast opening on his part. I'm going to save the assassinate. I've got the weakness counter for this anyway, so I can just assassinate the elf commander. Or brother-in-arms. Yep, I have a second assassinate. This is so brutal. This is a proper elf deck, though. This is running pretty much the same stuff. Although, to be fair, it is difficult to tell the difference between a starter deck and a constructed elf deck right now, as they are quite similar. I will not need the cataclysm this game, and I hate the fact that I'm missing. I always Divine Offering the turn before I draw, unless I really need the cards in hand. And I have explained this before, it's just that I really don't want to miss Divines. Now, I'm just going to weaken this and leave it on front row. Divine Offering, get a blue. Yes. Now, the reason I'm doing this is if he wants to kill it, I'm fine with it. With the hero power, he can get a free trade, but it's not that good. It also just stalls out a bit, and the longer the game goes, the better it is for me. So now, oh wow, Amber Strike, okay. So now I can just Dust Titan and kill, or not kill, just Dust Titan and shock both of these. Dust Titan, completely immune to bounce effects, more or less. See if he has a trick. He does! Is he going to bounce it? Oh no. This is the thing about Dust Titan. It doesn't really get badly affected by that because it still did its job. And I can actually kill both Brother-in-Arms with the hero power next turn now I think about it. Yeah, now that I've drawn the Protector, I think that's the better play. So we can kill both of these with the weakness counter, play Force Mage, no reason to use the ability right now, Divine Offering, because I don't need the Shrine next turn. Second Tornado. That's fine. So next turn I think I just go Dust Titan and shock both of them. And I can go Protector as well. He's completely out of steam. Like, he's still got aggro going, but he just doesn't have anything left in the tank. Okay, because of the New Horizons, I'm actually going to get rid of the Force Mage here. And New Horizons for my third Cathedral. That's what I meant earlier when I said I often play New Horizons to ramp into Karthus in the late game. Because you kind of have the ability to now. Alright, that's fine. I can just, let's see, Ancient Wisdom first. Alright, Karthus this one. Take this out. Pause. Well, I mean, take out the Protector, I think, as well. I want to make sure I have a Shrine in my hands at all time, because if he landslides me and I don't have a Shrine, to get a Shrine I have to shuffle away one of the cards. Whereas if you have a Shrine in your hand, then you just use the Shrine and you get both cards. It's actually one of the reasons Landslide is so powerful, is because if they have no Shrine in their hand, they have to shuffle away one of the threats. But if they do, they can play around it. And that's something which a lot of people just don't. They don't really think about. It's not about missing it. It's not like a misplay, because if you don't see it in the first place. But it is something that a lot of people just don't really realize. Now, I think at this point, I just want to close out this game as fast as possible. So we're going to get Haldiri here. Shock this. Attack. Now, if he has Tornado Outbreak, he could use it on his own Haldiri, which would suck. But I'm not really scared about Haldiri right now. I'm just trying to end the game as fast as possible because I don't want to give him the opportunity of going Guy, and then with the hero power, because that would be a lot of damage. However, I think that is lethal. Yes, it is. He should have left this on defense. Not that it would actually matter, because I have multiple Dust Titans. He could have Tornado Outbreak. That's a possibility. Okay. Oh. Mind Extort. Yeah, alright, that's lethal. So, that's actually a pretty representative game against elves. Now, that deck was playing a few strange things like Stone Fairy, but the game itself was pretty representative. It looked like I had an insane opening, and I did have a very good opening, but I'm also playing 4 Assassins and Assassinates. So yeah, there's the shrine count, in case anyone's wondering. It's a 12-9 split with 3 cathedrals, so 9 of each basic, and then the 3 cathedrals, 21 shrines, standard, I think. No, it's actually not a 9-3 split, it's a 10-11 split. Yeah, that makes sense, actually. Most of the decks I run are 12-9. But in this case, I think it actually makes sense because I need double of each, and I actually need blue on turn 3 or 2 sometimes. Yeah, going New Horizons, I need it on turn 2. So yeah, that makes sense actually. It's an 11-10 split. My mistake. But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, want to ask me any questions about the deck, put it in the comment section below. But as of now, it's been Jotto, signing off.